Good evening, gentlemen. I'm up late, I guess. I felt compelled to just get this information out. There's a reason why I call Cliff's office an extension of empowerment for tomorrow. I sure as hell couldn't call it empowerment for today. Seems like no sooner than I do a video, Black America and what have you will come back and just prove my point. A couple of weeks ago, I did a video on distractions that white supremacy welcome with respect to things that Black America does. And one of them was voting. I've also done a video on Black Lives Matter and the distractions that white supremacy would welcome with that too. I'm pretty sure Black Lives Matter, with the way things are going with my videos, they'll probably indicate some foolishness like they've done uh, throughout their existence with respect to so-called empowering the Black community. But this past Saturday, some of you may be aware of, thousands, according to an article by MSN.com, and I'm going to show you some images, pictures provided by Reuters. This past Saturday on the 28th of August, 20,000 plus people marched on Washington for voting rights. Now, in reading the article, nothing in that article from said Black organizers was centered around anything doing something specifically for Black America. You read the article and you see the typical words, people of color, marginalized groups, even though Al Sharpton and Dr. Martin Luther King III, his son, are in the front leading the way along with other Congressional Black Caucus members and overall cowards of our community, because like I have pointed out in the video and a few of my live presentations years ago with Empowerment for Tomorrow, teaching and showing and articulating and trying to convey to our young Black men about voting. Nothing wrong with voting if you are operating in quid pro quo. You want my vote? You will do this for me. That has never happened in the Black dynamic, in Black America. We continue to vote. In an email I sent to some of my stakeholders, the only power you have is the power you're sending to that Democratic candidate who can now defeat that Republican opponent, because they have to have the Black vote to do such. Once the Democratic candidate wins and beats the Republican component, in most cases, from the municipality level all the way up to the presidency, is because of that Black vote. Once he's acquired that Black vote, he never turns around and says, Black America, thank you. Now this is what I'm going to do for you. How many decades are we going to go through this? In just about every video, I make an appeal to older Black men who have sons in that age range of 14 to 19. It's going to be up to that generation to turn this unbelievable foolishness around. One of the tricks that white America, white supremacy continues to use, and it's dyed in the wool by now, is convincing black people that they have power in voting. I want you to look at this image. This is what sparked me to do this video. I just got so irritated when I saw it. At the march this past Saturday, this past weekend, there you see the usual suspects in the middle, Reverend Al Sharpton in the white t-shirt, and to his right, Dr. Martin Luther King III, and other Congressional Black Caucus members and so forth. Excuse me. Protect your power. Protect your power. What power do you actually have, Black America? If you utilize the power you say you have, Black America would not be America's permanent underclass. We would not be last in practically every outlier of society if we were a demographic where the rest of America, hey, them black people, those Negroes, when they talk, people listen. They exude a lot of power with their vote. That's as far as from the East as from the West. When I was in high school, unless some things have changed with all of this technology we have in science and space travel and so forth, we thought we had Pluto, but apparently Pluto, the ninth planet, that's something else. But I remember in high school where I learned in science, the sun is 93 million miles away from Earth. That's how far Black America is with relationship to so-called power in the political scheme of things. The only power we're going to exert under this umbrella of voting, gentlemen, is when we give power to that Democratic candidate who needs our black vote to defeat that Republican opponent. And like I said in my previous video, like there have been articles and other people have talked about it, Joe Biden made it quite clear in that meeting he had with probably a lot of these. I believe Al Sharpton was there in his, what some refer to as a condescending tone to those so-called black leaders. Black America is not a high priority, but thank you for your vote. Appreciate you too, James Clyburn, being the kingmaker and all of that. Another image that Reuters pointed out during this past weekend's march. This is another trick. Your vote equals your voice. Not in Black America. Right on the heels of my video. And white supremacy is looking at this like they've looked at for, I believe this marks the 58th anniversary of Black America still marching for voting rights. Hell, everybody's going to get the voting rights. They're always trying to change this and change that. But at the end of the day, you'll still be able to have your voting rights if you have to jump through some extra hoops. But Black America doesn't even have a quid pro quo mindset when it comes to our voting like other demographics do. The great Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this and some things he's articulated over the years with respect to black people in voting. I'm resigned now to the fact that so much of our issues in black America, quite frankly, will never be resolved until our younger black generation can turn these things around. If our young black generation doesn't turn things around, we will continue to be on the trajectory of that doomed, cursed. Are we cursed? Heard a lot of that over the years of just living life. Seen comments in the comment section on a lot of platforms in this black courageous black consciousness community where people will, are we cursed? We can't tell black people anything. That 7 out of 10 black people who don't think critically about a damn thing in the first place, why I represent the 3 out of 10 who do. I lovingly implore, beseech, which is a nice way of saying, I'm damn near begging you, young black men. That image, this reminds me of the story from the Bible of how the Israelites who were freed from bondage, we know the story, Moses and all of that, and they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Biblical research has shown, interestingly enough, they were only 2.5 miles away from what would be defined as the promised land territory. But they wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years. And only 3 or 4 people actually made it into the promised land. Because our Heavenly Father, our Most High, couldn't bring those old mindsets and ridiculous shenanigans, misguided energy and resources into the new promised land. So those other people had to die off. That's probably what it's going to take. This older generation, and only God knows who's going to close their eyes for the last time. I'm not implying that people physically die off, but certainly the mindsets that we have from people like the ones marching. I've used the term coward with them, and it should stick. The Congressional Black Caucus being chief among the cowards. Their party first, long before they ever get around to black Americans. And when they do, we're lumped into people of color, marginalized groups, and others. I love you more than you know. Thanks.